Hey, how's it going, guys? Fizzy297 here, and welcome to part 4 of my Holy Paladin PvE guide. This guide's gonna go over the basic abilities, as well as cooldowns and all that good stuff, as well as a sort of live demo of me actually healing in a 5-man dungeon. As always, there's gonna be annotations on your screen right now, so that way you can jump to whichever part of the guide you would like without having to just sort through each video. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about are abilities. Now we're going to start with cooldowns and then move on to passives. It's good to know what your abilities do so that way you can heal more effectively and know when to use certain things, because obviously knowing how to play your class is kind of important. Anyways, we're going to start off with my favorite personally just because it looks awesome. Guardian of Ancient Kings. Someone's Guardian of Ancient Kings to help you, right? Last 15 seconds, and the Guardian of Ancient Kings heals the targets you heal for additional 100% of the amount healed and grants you 10% haste for the entire duration. Great, it's like a mini little baby heroism, because obviously heroism 30% haste, you're getting a third of that. This is good for, you know, high damage output phases, I mean, emergency situations. I try to save it for those high damage output situations, however, because if you use it in an emergency situation, you have to wait 3 minutes before you can use it again. And if you're going into a fight where there's a high damage phase and you need to use it in an emergency, and you're going to that high damage phase without it, you're going to struggle in that phase and possibly wipe just because you're not going to have a healing cooldown to use that's as strong as Guardian of Ancient Kings. The next one is Avenging Wrath. Pretty popular amongst paladins. I see macros in LFR all the time. Red Bull gives you wings. It's pretty common. What this does, it increases all damage and healing by 20% for 20 seconds. And again, 3-minute cooldown. This is good for those high damage phases. I like to couple this with Guardian of Ancient Kings sometimes, depending on the fight. Obviously, in heroic fights, the damage output for certain things is going to be a lot higher than it is going to be on normal. And I do heroic SOO, you know, 3 nights a week, and that by this point I know what fights I use it on. But this is again just sort of a guide. This is, you know, you take what you want from this and apply it to how you heal, and that is awesome. Totally okay with that. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to play here. I'm just telling you this is what I do, and you know, take what you want from this and apply it to what you do. Next one is Divine Favor. Increases your spellcasting haste by 20% and your critical chance by 20% for 20 seconds. This is extremely strong if you have the 4-piece. This 4-piece is going to be really helpful. I like it. I had it until I got some heroic legs and I lost it. And obviously there is a slight difference in my healing output. It's not a whole lot, just because I went from a flexible piece to a heroic piece. That being said, depending on your gear, kind of see how it affects you. Like if you're gonna lose your 4-piece, but the other item you have is a higher upgrade, then by all means, play with it, see which one works better for you. I mean, maybe the flexible piece or the LFR piece works better because you keep the 4-piece. I mean, I don't know. Totally depends on your character and how you heal. And then that's pretty much gonna do it for healing cooldowns. Besides the talent ones, which I'm not gonna discuss a whole lot. The next thing I do want to talk about is our big raid cooldown, which is called Devotion Aura. Inspire all party raid members within 40 yards, granting them immunity to silence and interrupt effects and reducing all magic damage taken by 20%. This ability is absolutely amazing for Thok, because Thok does his little deafening screech thing where he likes to interrupt people. This is good to save for like those later phases in Thok, where you kind of want to push him a little more. Or not later phases. It's good for those later, you know, like maybe like around the 15-10 stack mark for Thok, because by then he's going to be screeching pretty often, and if you could just have that 6 seconds of, you know, uninterrupted healing with your healers, you're going to be able to push him a lot further than you would if you didn't have a Diva Aura. So Paladins are obviously really strong on that fight, just due to the fact that Diva Aura is a great cooldown. It's also a great cooldown on, you know, pretty much any fight, just because of the magic damage reduction Like for example, Shaw of Pride, when he does this little, what's that called? Shaw of Pride when he does his, what is it, Bursting Pride or something? Hold on. Swelling Pride. Yeah, sorry. On Shaw of Pride, when he uses Swelling Pride, Diva Aura is obviously very strong because it's 20% less damage, and that could, you know, again, be the difference between a kill and a wipe. It totally depends. Divine Protection reduces the magical damage you take by 40% for 10 seconds. I like to leave this unglyphed because if you glyph it, it's going to take that magical damage and cut it in half, but apply a physical damage reduction, which I feel is way better for tanking because you're not going to be taking a whole lot of physical damage from fights if you are a healer. Divine Shield is the all-famous Paladin bubble. It's great for using when you get a sticky situations, like let's say you're going to get caught in a mechanic because you're too busy tunnel visioning your healing bars, or too busy looking at your 400k healing per second, whatever things, you know, whatever, dude. I do that too. It happens to everybody. If you get caught in a situation where you know you're going to die, bubbling is great. Bubbling is even better when you can bubble hearth and save yourself 20 gold on the repair guy. But obviously Divine Shield is a very, 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 very strong ability. It lets you ignore certain mechanics for, you know, what, 8 seconds? And the damage reduction on it is not going to matter a whole lot because, like I said, you're a healer. You're not going to be worrying about your damage, you're going to be worrying about your healing, right? Hand of Freedom. This is more of a PvP ability, but it does have its uses in PvE and on certain boss fights with slows. Like for example, Heroic, Malkarok, there's an ad that comes out, and sometimes if the tanks aren't too quick to pick it up, it can slow a raid member and then they can get stuck in like a smash or not be able to get to their puddle in time. So it's good to throw on them when they need it. What it does is it removes all immunity. It removes movement and parry effects for 6 seconds, and it's a 25-second cooldown, which is relatively short. It's really good to use in PvP, obviously. PvE, you're not going to see it used a whole lot, but like I said, there are certain mechanics where it's kind of useful. Hand of Protection. Remember that awesome thing you have called Divine Shield? Well, now you can put it on other people. Hand of Protection, however, only affects physical damage, and it drops aggro, so please, for the love of God, don't bubble your tanks. I mean, you can bubble your tanks, but tell them you're gonna bubble them so you can clear their stacks of, you know, whatever. Let's say they screwed up a tank swap and they need to get rid of their stacks of their debuff or they're gonna die. It does not clear all debuffs, however. Some debuffs will get cleared by this, some won't. It's gonna be a kind of like an experimental thing to see if you can do that. It does negate all physical damage, but they will still take magical damage. So like I said, it's good for clearing Garrote on protectors, and it's also great for bubbling yourself if your other bubble is on cooldown. Hand of Sacrifice is what we were talking about with the glyph. Places a hand on a target and reduces the damage taken by 30% for 12 seconds. This glyph is kind of overpowered. It's almost like a pain suppression for paladins. It's gonna make your tank target take, you know, a whole crap load less damage. Not necessarily a tank target, but whatever target you throw it on. And that's helpful, especially if, you know, they're gonna be taking a huge amount of damage, which is why I said a tank target, because, you know, there's some tanks that are squishy and there's some tanks that aren't squishy. And I mean, like I said, it depends on your raid comp and what you're running with. Hand of Salvation. This is for when you have those overzealous DPS that like to not wait for the tanks to get high enough aggro before they start, you know, popping all their cooldowns and just wrecking face on the boss. It reduces all their threat for 10 seconds, which is great for clearing threat. Like, I know Warlocks do a crap ton of DPS, but they have a Soul Shatter, so they probably won't need it so much. Most classes have a threat dropping ability, so I mean, there are some situations where you'll have to use this, like, I don't know, it totally depends. Like, if you just have a dude ripping aggro off a tank, throw it on them, should clear the problem up. However, it's a 2-minute cooldown, so hopefully this will buy your tank enough time to get enough aggro on that target so you don't end up losing a DPS just because your tank can't keep aggro. Seal of Insight. Obviously, out of the 3 seals you get as holy, this is the one you're going to use because it increases your casting speed by 10% and improves your healing with spells by 5%. And giving melee attacks a chance to heal you for 7.5k. There are times where I switch specs and forget to put this on, and I don't realize it until we're halfway done with the raid. And I wonder why my healing meters look so low that week. And just remember that when you change specs, your seals drop. So always remember to reapply your seals. And don't be a retard like me here. Daybreak. Passive, super great. It turns your Holy Shock into an AoE heal after you use Holy Radiance. That being said, it stacks 2 times, so I like to save it for, depending on how much damage is going out, usually 2 stacks. Depending on if I'm trying to blanket the raid with the Eternal Flames or whatever, I'll use it with 1 stack. Just because I like to get as many Eternal Flames out as I can. That being said though, just depends on the fight. If you need to use it on 2 stacks of it, then that's great. If you don't, hey, even better. And then there's Mastery. Mastery is great for Paladins. What it does is your healing spells place an absorb shield on your target for 35% amount of healing of the amount healed, lasting 15 seconds, and it does not trigger from healing caused by Beacon of Light or Eternal Flame. This is great because it stacks. It's kind of like Divine Aegis for Disc Priests. I don't know if that's ability anymore. I'm sorry, I don't play a priest. I remember back in the day, back in Firelands, we used to have a Disc Priest that would always stack Divine Aegis on everybody before a fight starts. That being said, you can do the same thing, however, I usually just stack it up on the tanks just because when you have a high amount of mastery, it's a stupid amount of absorb, so I mean, it's almost like 2 or 3 melee hits that they can just soak because of that. When we get to stats, I'll explain a little more about mastery and why it's so strong, but just know that your mastery is fantastic. Last but not least, Tower of Radiance. Healing a target with your Beacon of Light, with Flash of Light or Divine Light, gives you Holy Power. So whatever your target is with Beacon of Light, if you use Divine Light or Flash of Light on that target, it's going to give you a charge of Holy Power, which is great, because more Holy Power is more healing. Alright, that's pretty much going to do it for the ability section of this Holy Power and Healing Guide. I covered basically all of the major healing abilities. Obviously, if you're healing on a Paladin, I'm going to assume you know what your heals are, just because that's kind of basic, and it's also in the core abilities section. So I mean, obviously Flash of Light you're not going to want to use a whole lot, just because it's not a whole lot of healing for a crap ton of mana. Holy Shock, you're going to want to use it whenever it's off cooldown. Holy Light is basically your spam heal. Divine Light is your heavy heal for when you need to use it for periods of high damage. And then Holy Radiance is your AoE heal, which is something I like to kind of spam almost, just due to the fact that it gives you Holy Power. I just wanted to run a quick heroic really quick to give you guys an example of how I heal during raids. Obviously this is a heroic and not heroic siege regular, so it's gonna be a little different, but same mindset. I'm still trying to blanket everybody with a Eternal Flame, whether it's 3 stacks or 3 charges or 5 charges. Wow, 5 charges. Wow. Whether it's 3 charges, 2 charges, 1 charge, whatever. Obviously this isn't the greatest boss to demonstrate this on, but I feel like any sort of demo is better than no demo, right? So whenever this tank decides to pull, I will kind of explain what I'm doing. Now, since some people still have Eternal Flame on them, I'm just gonna pretend they don't. Since most of my melee for what we have is grouped up, I'm gonna toss my hammer right in the melee right there, so that way everybody's getting affected by it. And I'm also gonna go stand in myself, just so that way it's more healing that I'm doing. Now that people don't have Eternal Flame, I'm gonna start blanketing them with Eternal Flame, so I'll be using Holy Radiance to build my charges, and I'll be using Holy Shock off cooldown to also use my charges, and then make sure that everybody has at least a single charge of Eternal Flame, because it's better than nothing. Now the boss is transitioning, so I know that these ads are about to go wreck this tank really hard, so I'm gonna pop a healing cooldown, just make sure that he doesn't die, and doesn't even look like he's tanking the ads, so it looks like I actually have aggro on some ads. We'll clean those up with a bomb really quick. And basically what I'm doing now is just obviously ensuring everybody survives because this tank doesn't seem to want to pick them up. Oh, no, he's picking them up now. And it's a good thing I popped the healing cooldown because who knows, maybe that hunter would have gotten wrecked really hard or something. But you know, I'm just making an example here. You know, normally if you're starting in blues, this is a pretty high damage phase. Because the ads put that debuff on the tank and it gets kind of messy. And as you can see, we still have some ads up. Well, no, not anymore. Alright, and now that everybody's grouped up again, I'm going to toss down my hammer and just start the whole process of putting Eternal Flame on people and making sure, you know, people are not taking damage, you know, staying topped off, all that good stuff. Typical healing mindset, basically. I like to use my Holy Radiance procs with, or my Holy Radiance with those Fusion of Light procs, just because it's a second and a half faster than it normally is, so it's like a half-second cast or something, which is super great. But yeah, this is basically it. Make sure people stay topped off, make sure keeping Holy Flame up on as many people as possible. If you've ever healed on a Chamois, it's kind of like using Riptide. Usually the Chamois like to keep Riptide up on as many targets as possible. Same concept, you just want to make sure you have your hot on everybody. And obviously make sure you're not standing and stuff, like, you know, random bombs or whatever. And that's basically it for the most part. Yeah, just make sure you throw in your hammer in a smart place if that's what you're using. You don't want to throw it just in a random place where no one's going to stand in it, because obviously if no one's standing in it, you're not healing anybody, and that's just kind of a waste. And this boss should be dying pretty soon now, hopefully. Pop another healing cooldown because, you know, why not? But yeah, no, that's basically it. I mean, it's just on a larger scale when I do it in, you know, Heroic Siege of Orgrimmar. And if you guys do want to watch me heal in Heroic Siege of Orgrimmar, just you want to check that out. I stream it on Twitch over at twitch.tv/5297. I'll throw a link in the description. I raid on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday nights, starting at 7 p.m. my time, which is Pacific Standard Time. So, which is, you know, depending on your time zone, it's going to be whatever time. But yep, starts at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we go until about midnight, or basically when everybody's tired. We don't really have a really set end time, we just kind of go with it until everybody gets tired, and then once that happens, we'll call it that night and pick it up the next raid day. But if you guys did find this guide helpful, and hopefully you learned something from it, or just were able to apply something from this video to your healing style, go ahead and throw me a like. Let me know what you liked about it in the comments, or what you didn't like, or, I mean, just, you know, give me some feedback in the comments if you'd like. Subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of different videos. I'll do Let's Plays, I'll do just dicking around with some friends on Gary's mod. I'll do random WoW videos. Whenever my hunter gets level 90, I'm going to start PvPing seriously. I'll probably do that on my Chamois too, whenever he gets to 90. But yeah, guys, I'm 5297, and if you stuck through this entire video, which was it's a lot longer than I thought I was going to be, thank you very much for watching, and remember always to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one, which could be pretty much anything, so stay tuned.